When my husband Arthur passed away, our home fell silent in a way that words couldn't fill. For 40 years we'd built a quiet life together, one of small victories, shared laughter, and late night cups of tea by the kitchen window. After the funeral, my son, Liam, moved me into his house. He said it would be easier, that I shouldn't live alone in that big old place full of memories. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that my boy was simply trying to help. In the beginning, it was comforting. He'd come home from work, ask how I was doing, and sometimes we'd watch old movies together. But as the months passed, something changed. His voice grew sharper, his smile shorter. The warmth that once lived in his eyes had turned cold and distracted, like he was always somewhere else, chasing something just out of reach. Then, one morning over breakfast, he asked a question that made me grip my teacup tighter. "Mom," he said casually, "how much do you get from Dad's pension every month again?" I looked up slowly. "Why do you ask?" He shrugged, spooning sugar into his coffee. "Just wondering. I mean, you're living here rent. Free, right? Maybe I could help you invest it or something. Get you a better return." The way he said it, smooth, rehearsed, made my stomach tighten. I forced a smile. "I appreciate it, Liam, but I'd rather keep things simple. The money's just for daily expenses and emergencies." He nodded, pretending to drop the subject, but I noticed how he looked at me then, like I was a puzzle he'd almost solved. That afternoon, while cleaning his room, I found a stack of unpaid bills on his desk. Credit card statements, loan reminders, even a notice from a debt collector. My hands trembled as I put them back exactly where they were. So that was it. My son was in trouble. I wanted to talk to him to understand, but pride and fear kept me silent. He'd always hated feeling judged, and I didn't want to push him away. I thought maybe, if I gave him time, he'd come to me on his own. Days passed. He started coming home late, smelling faintly of whiskey and smoke. I'd wait up for him, pretending to be asleep on the couch. Once I heard him mutter as he walked past me, "Old people shouldn't hold on to money they don't even need." That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the dark kitchen, listening to the ticking clock, wondering where I went wrong. I'd given him everything: love, security, opportunity. Arthur and I had sacrificed so much so he could study abroad, get his degree, live a life better than ours. And now it seemed all he cared about was what I still had left to give. The final straw came on a rainy Thursday evening. I was bringing laundry upstairs when I heard his voice from his room, low and urgent. I stopped on the landing. "Yeah, she'll transfer it soon." He whispered, "No, she has no idea. She trusts me completely. Once the money's in my account, we can clear it in a day." My heart sank. I stepped closer, pressing my ear to the door. "Relax," he continued, his tone colder now. "She's old, man. She won't even notice. It's just sitting there. Might as well do something useful with it." I stumbled back, my hand over my mouth. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My own son, my Liam, was planning to steal my pension. I went back to my room quietly and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the photo of him as a little boy, 5 years old, smiling with missing teeth, holding a kite Arthur had made for him. How could that innocent child become this man? The next morning, I acted as if nothing had happened. I cooked his favorite breakfast, fried eggs, toast, and sausage, and smiled when he walked in. "Morning, sweetheart," I said. "Morning," he replied, yawning, scrolling through his phone. "You look tired." I said lightly, "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just work stuff." He muttered, not meeting my eyes. I nodded, pretending not to see the flicker of guilt that crossed his face. After he left for work, I called the bank. I spoke to a kind woman named Helen, who helped me freeze my savings and transfer what remained into a secure account under my maiden name. Then I visited the police station, where I quietly explained the situation to a detective. Hayes, I think her name was. She told me to gather any proof I could find and assured me they'd handle it discreetly. That evening I spent hours printing documents, his debt letters, his fake signatures, even screenshots from my online banking showing attempted transfers. I placed everything neatly into a folder, labeled it evidence, and set it inside the fridge, somewhere he'd definitely look. It was cruel, maybe, but I needed him to see what he'd done, to realize I wasn't the naive old woman he thought I was. When I heard his car pull up that night, my heart pounded so loud I could barely hear myself think. I sat on the couch pretending to watch TV as he walked in. "Hey, Mom," he said, tossing his jacket aside. "Mind if I grab a beer?" "Go ahead," I said softly without turning around. He walked into the kitchen. The fridge door creaked open. Then came the sound I'll never forget, a sharp, strangled scream that cut through the house like a blade. The bottle he'd been holding clattered to the floor, rolling until it stopped at my feet. I didn't move. I just stared ahead, waiting for him to speak. "Mom, what the hell is this?" he shouted, voice shaking. I didn't answer. I just closed my eyes, feeling a strange calm settle over me. The time for pretending was over. The next part, his reaction, his excuses, his unraveling, was yet to come. Liam's scream tore through the quiet of the house, raw and desperate. For a moment he just stood there, frozen in front of the open fridge, staring at the evidence that gleamed under the cold fluorescent light. His shoulders trembled. Then slowly he turned toward me, his face pale and slick with sweat. "Mom," he stammered, his voice cracking, "what is all this? Why would you? Why would I what, Liam?" I said, finally rising from the couch. My voice was calm, too calm. Why would I protect myself from my own son? His eyes darted back to the fridge, to the neatly stacked pages, bank statements, debt notices, and screenshots. On top of the pile sat that single white envelope marked police evidence. The word must have burned in his mind, because he flinched when he read it again. "Mom, listen," he said, taking a hesitant step forward, hands raised as if he could still talk his way out of it. "You don't understand. I wasn't going to take everything, just a little. I was going to pay it back." I tilted my head slightly. "You mean the same way you paid back your student loans, or those credit card bills I found on your desk?" His mouth opened, then closed again. He had no answer. "Do you think I'm blind, Liam?" I continued, my voice trembling now with anger. "You've been lying to me for months. Coming home late, making calls in secret, asking about my pension as if I wouldn't notice. Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" He ran a hand through his hair, pacing back and forth. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I needed help, Mom. You don't know what it's like trying to survive out there. Everything costs more. My job barely pays enough, and then there were the debts." "Debts," I snapped. "Or your gambling." He froze mid-step. "That told me everything. You think I didn't know." I said quietly, "I saw the betting apps on your phone when you left it charging in the kitchen. You didn't even bother to hide it." He sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Every time I thought I could fix things, I made them worse. I thought if I could just get your money for a while, I'd finally get out of the hole." I looked at him for a long time, my heart breaking and hardening all at once. "That pension," I said softly, "is all I have left from your father's work. From our years of saving, sacrificing, skipping vacations so you could have everything. It was meant to keep me safe when I'm too old to protect myself, and the person I needed protection from most turned out to be you." He stood suddenly desperate now. "I was going to tell you. I just needed time to take it all." I asked bitterly, "You were going to drain my account by the weekend, weren't you? I heard you on the phone, Liam. You said she won't even notice." His face twisted with panic and shame. "Mom, please, I didn't mean you said it." I interrupted, "And you meant it." The room went silent, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the rain beginning to fall outside. The weight of truth pressed down between us until neither of us could breathe. "I called the bank this morning. I finally said they froze the account, and I called Detective Hayes. She'll be here soon." The color drained completely from his face. You called the police." I nodded. "What else was I supposed to do, Liam? Pretend again? Wait until you took everything and left me with nothing. His breathing quickened. Mom, you can't do this. You're my mother. Yes, I whispered. And that's exactly why this hurts so much. He took a step toward me, but I held up my hand. Don't, I said sharply. You've done enough. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I saw the boy he used to be flicker behind his eyes, scared, small, lost. The boy who once cried when he broke a window because he thought he'd disappointed me. Now that same boy stood before me, a grown man who'd shattered something far more fragile. Mom, he said hoarsely, I didn't want you to think I failed. I just wanted to make things right again. I swallowed the lump in my throat. You didn't fail, Liam. You gave up. There's a difference. Outside, a car pulled into the driveway. Headlights cut through the living room curtains. Liam's head jerked toward the sound, realization dawning in his eyes. No, he whispered. Mom, please, tell them it was a mistake. Tell them you changed your mind. Tears blurred my vision. I can't. I said, you crossed a line. Maybe this is the only way you'll learn. He shook his head, backing away as the doorbell rang. The knock that followed was steady, authoritative. Mrs. Parker, Detective Hayes, may we come in? Liam's voice broke. Mom, please. I couldn't look at him. My hands trembled as I opened the door. 2 officers stood there, rain dripping from their coats. I nodded silently toward the kitchen. Liam tried to run, but the officers were quick. They took him gently but firmly by the arms, reading him his rights as his voice cracked with panic. Mom, I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to help. The words dissolved into sobs as they led him outside. I stood in the doorway, my heart heavy as the rain began to pour harder. When the sound of the police car faded into the distance, I turned back toward the house. Everything felt unbearably still. The smell of spilled beer lingered in the air. Papers still lay scattered near the fridge, the word evidence staring up at me like a scar that wouldn't fade. I sat back on the couch, shaking, and whispered to the empty room, I'm sorry, Liam. I really am. Somewhere deep inside, a part of me still hoped that one day, after the anger and shame had passed, he'd understand why I did it, why a mother sometimes has to protect herself, even from her own child. As the night wore on, I made myself a cup of tea and stared at the rain-streaked window. Outside, the world looked washed clean, but inside, I knew things would never be the same again. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence, steady and unchanging, like a heartbeat that refused to stop, even after everything else had broken.